Welcome. Today we are undertaking an exhaustive analysis of the commentary surrounding a single powerful verse of the Qur'an, Surah Maryam, verse 25. Our goal is to systematically unpack the profound theological concepts it addresses concerning disagreement, divine justice, and the nature of the afterlife. To be perfectly clear, our entire examination today is derived directly from this single source text. We are going to proceed with a forensic, piece-by-piece breakdown of its arguments to fully understand what it reveals. So, here is our methodical approach. We're going to navigate this commentary through 6 distinct sections. We'll begin with the central disagreement, or ikhtilaf. Then we'll examine the relationship between knowledge and culpability. From there, we'll explore the visions of the afterlife, a fascinating paradox concerning heavenly sight, the meaning of divine inheritance, and finally, we'll delve into the various scholarly perspectives on paradise itself. All right, let's begin. The entire structure of this analysis is built around a core theological dispute. So, what exactly is it? Well, the very foundation for this discussion, as presented in our source text, is the concept of difference or disagreement itself, which, as this verse shows, the Qur'an acknowledges as a fundamental aspect of the human condition that necessitates divine guidance. The key term we absolutely must understand is ikhtilaf. The source is very precise here. This isn't just about any minor difference of opinion. It specifically refers to the significant theological disputes that are the subject of this entire analysis. And here is where the text makes a critical distinction. It argues that not all disagreement is created equal. In fact, it posits that there are 2 fundamental and fundamentally different types of ikhtilaf.
So what is the dividing line? What separates these 2 forms of disagreement? According to the text, it all hinges on one single pivotal factor: the arrival of divine knowledge.
This is how the text methodically frames the issue of culpability. It argues that disagreement before the truth has been revealed is a natural state. It's not considered blameworthy because people are essentially seeking truth in the dark. But disagreement after knowledge has come, that is categorized very differently. It's seen as a conscious rebellion, an act of transgression, and is therefore considered blameworthy. And you can see that core argument articulated with absolute precision right here in the source text. The author meticulously lays out the distinction between an acceptable, natural dispute before revelation and a condemned, blameworthy one that occurs after the truth has been made clear. Now the analysis shifts into a truly fascinating area: the idea that the inhabitants of heaven and the inhabitants of hell are not isolated from one another. In fact, they can perceive each other. So what does that actually mean? The text digs deep into this question. It suggests that while vision is granted to both groups, the purpose of that vision and the experience it creates is starkly, profoundly different for each. According to the source, for those in paradise, seeing hell is not intended to cause them any distress or sorrow. On the contrary, its purpose is to serve as a constant, powerful reminder of the immense divine mercy they received, amplifying their gratitude for having been saved from that very fate. The exegesis presents this very verse from Surah Al-A'raf as direct scriptural evidence. It's proof of this mutual awareness, this communication that exists between the 2 distinct realms. And on the other side of the coin, with a perfect and painful symmetry, the text argues that for those in hell, the sight of paradise is an integral component of their punishment. It serves only to magnify their regret, their sorrow, and to confirm the totality of their loss. Now, this explication leads directly to a significant theological paradox, a question the source addresses head-on. How can the people of paradise possibly maintain their state of absolute bliss while simultaneously witnessing the torment of hell? So here is the crucial point of the argument. The text resolves this paradox by positing that seeing the fate they were spared from doesn't diminish their joy in the slightest. In fact, it argues that this vision fundamentally enhances their experience of paradise. The source uses this very specific phrasing, that their joy and happiness may increase, to explain this phenomenon. The stark contrast they witness is the very catalyst that deepens their appreciation for their salvation and their eternal peace, thus leading to an even greater state of bliss. Okay, let's move to the next key term unpacked in this exegesis: the complex concept of divine inheritance, which is referred to as erth. The source text is extremely precise here. It clarifies that the term earth, in this theological context, is fundamentally different from our worldly concept of inheriting material property from someone who has died. This is about taking rightful possession of something that was always destined for you. And here in the manuscript itself, we can see the detailed scholarly arguments being presented. The author carefully distinguishes between the different meanings and applications of the concept of inheritance.
You see, the text examines inheritance on two distinct planes. First, there's the worldly sense, which refers to the righteous gaining stewardship and influence on earth. And second, there's the otherworldly sense, which refers to the believers finally taking possession of their eternal reward in paradise.
Finally, the exegesis delves into the specifics of what this inheritance of paradise actually entails, and it presents differing scholarly views on the matter. One of the interpretations articulated in the source is, frankly, fascinating. It suggests that every single human being is created with a potential place designated for them in paradise and another potential place in hell, a universal potential that is either realized or forfeited. This culminates in a concept of profound symmetry, a sort of great exchange. According to this view, the inheritance of the believers is magnified. They don't just occupy their own designated place, they also inherit the places that were forfeited by the disbelievers. At the same time, the loss of the disbelievers is compounded, as they occupy not only their own place in hell, but also inherit the place that was waiting in hell for a believer had that believer strayed from the path. So, after this exhaustive analysis, the source leaves us to contemplate this very deep and complex question. To what extent is our eternal reward defined solely by our own actions, and to what extent is it also defined by the spiritual choices and failures of others? It's a question about the interconnected nature of human destiny and the intricate mechanics of divine justice.